In this podcast episode, Dr. Tara Swart, a distinguished neuroscientist and expert in manifestation, dives deep into the intersection of science, spirituality, and the mysterious signs from beyond that many experience but few understand. Drawing from her personal tragedies, scientific insights, and the anecdotes of others, Dr. Swart unravels the complexity of afterlife communication, intuition, and the ways our modern lives block us from truly connecting with the universe. The discussion opens on a personal note with Dr. Swart reflecting on her experience of manifesting her late husband, Robin, encapsulated in early public appearances and her first book. Their meeting was almost serendipitous, a manifestation symbolized by an action board she created stating, "Joy comes out of the blue." However, this joyful story was shattered when Robin's immunocompromised condition worsened amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, eventually leading to his untimely death from acute myeloid leukemia. This devastation forced Dr. Swart to confront a profound crisis of faith in manifestation, love, and abundance. Despite all her scientific knowledge and belief in the power of intention, she was initially unable to reconcile the loss with her previous convictions. Yet amidst the darkness, subtle signs, most notably frequent sightings of robins, her husband's namesake bird, began to provide an intangible thread of connection. This personal odyssey forms the emotional underpinning of her new book and serves as an anchor throughout the conversation. From her unique vantage point as a neuroscientist, Dr. Swart delves into the emerging science that lends credibility to experiences often relegated to the mystical or dismissed outright. She acknowledges current scientific limitations, noting that while we cannot definitively prove phenomena like near-death experiences or telepathy, neither can they be fully disproven. Drawing on the work of luminaries like Professor Donald Hoffman, who proposes consciousness as more fundamental than space-time, and neuroscientist David Eagleman, who likens the brain to a radio receiver of unknown signals, she presents a case for keeping an open yet rigorous scientific attitude. Near-death experiences, in particular, offer compelling, documented evidence that challenges materialistic views of consciousness. Descriptions from thousands of cardiac arrest survivors reveal consistent themes such as out-of-body observations, encounters with benevolent beings, and an overwhelming sense of peace. These narratives disrupt traditional assumptions by showing lucidity in cases where brain activity is flatlined. Dr. Swart highlights terminal lucidity in dementia patients as another example where consciousness seemingly functions independently of brain deterioration. The conversation reveals how Dr. Swart's understanding of signs evolved from skepticism to profound acceptance. Initially dismissive of external interpretations, such as a friend's symbolic Justin Bieber song connected to her late husband's surname, she gravitated to highly personalized and meaningful signals involving numerical sequences reminiscent of the Fibonacci sequence her husband loved and tailored animal appearances. She eloquently portrays sign recognition as learning a new language together with the departed loved one, stressing that communication is two-way and requires both parties to gradually attune. This nuanced view contrasts with common depictions of post-mortem magical powers, highlighting instead a process of ongoing relational adjustment beyond physical loss. The significance of these signs lies not just in their validation of connection, but in how they provide solace and guidance amid existential pain. A notable theme throughout is the paramount importance of community in this deeply personal, often isolating journey. Dr. Swart credits her strong network of friends and family for providing emotional sustenance and a safe space to share and interpret signs, breaking down taboos around discussing such experiences. She shares how the culture among her close friends has shifted, with many openly embracing signs in symbolic ways, from lion statues to specific numbers that once might have seemed eccentric or unbelievable. Yet she emphasizes that openness does not imply uncritical acceptance. Healthy skepticism serves as a necessary balance in groups, enabling members to encourage each other while also gently questioning when interpretations may be overly strained. This dynamic interplay underscores the psychological safety required to avoid slipping into delusion, ensuring that these experiences enrich rather than destabilize a person's reality. Dr. Swart draws intriguing parallels between grief and states typically classified as psychosis, particularly regarding altered perceptions such as thought insertion and visual apparitions. While acknowledging the clinical criteria for mental illness, she insists that certain phenomena common in grief, like sensing the presence of a deceased loved one, are not pathological, but rather natural, if still poorly understood, responses. This insightful perspective encourages destigmatization of grief-related experiences, urging openness to sharing rather than silence, born out of fear of being labeled crazy. Encouraging listeners to distinguish between genuine connection and disorder, Dr. Swart advocates for nuanced awareness that honors personal experience while remaining grounded in scientific scrutiny. She also highlights community as a source of reality checks and validation. A major thread in the discussion centers on humanity's severed relationship with nature and how reconnecting to the natural world can amplify our capacity to perceive signs and access intuition. Drawing from her work with Aboriginal communities and cutting-edge ecological science, like the symbiotic mycelial networks linking trees and fungi, Dr. Swart showcases the profound interdependence of life. Scientific studies validating the physiological benefits of nature immersion, from immune-boosting phytoncides to nervous system regulation, reinforce the argument that nature is not merely a backdrop, but foundational to our mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This lost communion partially explains why modern urbanized lives create internal blockages to receiving subtle messages from the universe. She advocates for intentional, distraction-free nature engagement as a vital practice in reclaiming these connections. Beyond passive reception, Dr. Swart offers concrete methodologies to develop greater attunement to signs and gut feelings through embodied practices. Referencing trauma research and concepts of hidden wisdom stored not just in the brain but the muscles and fascia, she extols movement-based and sensory rituals like dancing, chanting, breathwork, and yoga as pathways to restore mind-body integration. Such practices resonate with evolutionary roots and ancient spiritual traditions, counteracting the modern hypercognitive lifestyle that disconnects individuals from their somatic intelligence. She cites transcranial stimulation and altered states that focus on breath or rhythm as experiments in enhancing consciousness and intuition, proposing these as tools that anyone can incorporate to open channels with the universe and deepen inner knowing. An essential practical tool Dr. Swart emphasizes is journaling, not merely as diary keeping, but as a deliberate exercise in capturing signs, tracking synchronicities, and reflecting on life's unfolding guidance. She shares how recording and revisiting experiences have illuminated previously unnoticed patterns and miracles, reinforcing belief and expanding her receptive capacity. This method also functions as a means of integrating manifestation with intuition, creating space to observe how desires, intentions, and signs interweave over time. Additionally, gratitude practices and periodic reflection on progress and giving or receiving help nurture an openness to magic and the unknown. She advocates this as an antidote to the relentless forward rush that obscures appreciation and hinders noticing. The dialogue candidly addresses the challenge of unmet expectations when signs or desires do not manifest as hoped. Dr. Swart likens this to the natural pauses and ebbs present in manifestation processes and encourages the cultivation of surrender, an openness to outcomes beyond one's control, and a grace-filled trust in timing and form. She urges releasing rigid attachments to specific results, instead inviting broader interpretations and a mindset willing to receive signs in diverse guises. This humility before the mystery allows greater flow and creativity in life's path, preventing frustration and disillusionment when outcomes do not align neatly with wishes. The willingness to ask the universe, "What do you want from me?" models a powerful shift from ego-driven striving to co-creative partnership with the cosmos. Though an advocate for deep connection with signs and intuition, Dr. Swart acknowledges the risk of excessive immersion leading to disengagement from daily life and reality. Drawing from her own experience in grieving, she notes a moment when she consciously drew a boundary to prevent herself from drifting into seclusion or obsession with spiritual encounters at the cost of practical living. She stresses the importance of balancing receptivity with grounded action, encouraging people to integrate signs as guidance rather than escape. Moderation ensures that one remains present and functional while nurturing spiritual connection, a challenge in a world replete with distraction and the temptation to avoid painful realities through fantasized spiritual experiences. Finally, Dr. Swart broadens the scientific lens by challenging the traditional notion of the five senses. After extensive review, she posits that humans possess upwards of 34 distinct senses, many of which regulate internal physiological states imperceptible to conscious awareness, such as blood pH or oxygen levels. This expanded framework invites recalibration of how we understand perception, intuition, and consciousness itself. It suggests that capacities for subtle reception, whether of internal bodily signals or external metaphysical signs, are rooted in complex somatic and neurological processes we are only beginning to comprehend. This growing frontier underscores her broader message. Human potential far exceeds common assumptions and will likely continue to evolve as science and spirituality dialogue more openly.